It's not supposed to do that, but there was a lot of commotion going on last week. So anyway, my message today is titled The Seven Sins, or a Look at Error Thinking. Now, I had to put in that bit about a look at error thinking because I figured if I just put the seven sins, nobody in Unity would show up, because we don't like to talk about sin. But I've mentioned the seven sins before in a different message, but it really wasn't the focus of my message. So today I thought it'd be great to kind of hone in on that. So what are the seven sins? Well, the seven sins are anger, gluttony, envy, greed, and covetousness. I kind of put together lust, pride, and sloth. And I have some Fillmore quotes about this today, and I also got some Bible references for you. But it was kind of funny because on the internet, they attribute the seven sins to the Catholics. And they said that the Catholics were the ones who called these the deadly sins. Now, are they deadly? We know they're not, right? We all should be saying, no, they're not deadly. But people use words to beat up people, and they use words to pile on that shame and guilt to try to make people conform to what they want to believe and what they want to think. But we know in Unity, we look at things metaphysically, we look at things with a positive vision, we look at things that are, to look at it as a spiritual thing, like we are here to spiritually grow. So let's look at the Bible references first. And Proverbs says a lot about, and really that's where most of them are, is in Proverbs, but they say a lot about the deadly sins. Pride is the first one. When pride comes, then comes disgrace, but with humility comes wisdom, from Proverbs 11:2. All the quotes are on there. I probably won't read them all to you, but you see them up there, the reference. But when I looked this up, this was one of the things I found on the internet, they just gave me that first part of the quote, that part that's italicized, where it says, when pride comes, then comes disgrace. But I thought, I said, well, that's just so, like pointing fingers. And so I looked up the whole quote, and that was the rest of the quote. And I thought, the solution's right there. Because with humility comes wisdom, and that's where we want to be. We don't want to be in that place where we are just disgracing ourselves or our families or any of that kind of stuff. So the solution was right there in the Bible quote. And we all know that Bible quotes can be taken out of context or reference, and you can take little snippets of them and use them for your benefit if you want to, or again to build up guilt and shame. But we want to try to look at these and work through them and see that they're not those deadly things that some people say. And we know that sin is error thinking, which I'll get into that in a minute. The next one is anger. A soft answer turns away wrath, which is anger. But a hot-tempered man stirs up strife. And we all should know that real easy. We get to choose whether we're going to respond to something or react to something. And it is in that split second of the decision that we make tells us whether or not we're going to fly off the handle and get all mad about something, or we're going to stop and take a breath and say, wait a minute, this isn't about me, this is about somebody else. Or we take a breath and say, we have empathy for somebody and say, I wonder what is hurting them today that they would be lashing out that way. Or, where are they coming from that is their response to this particular situation. But we get the choice, and we get to decide which way we're going to go. So if we take that breath, then anger isn't even in the equation. We instantly flip the page. We're no longer reacting and going to drama. We're sitting there responding from a spiritual beingness that we are, and we're more open and receptive to seeing beyond whatever the reaction is from the other person, and we remind ourselves that they have the Christ with them, and we want to pull that out to help them see that they don't have to react either. And we don't have to say a word when we do that. All we have to do is flip our minds to say, I behold the Christ in you. And it's that simple. It's in that very moment that can happen. And it's up to us. The next one is covetous and envy. And on that little clip art, it had greed up there, which we know is all together. But here's the Bible quote. Wrath is cruel, anger is overwhelming, but who can stand before jealousy or envy? Now, I put these together because it all stems from greed. Anytime we are in that mode, we are being greedy. And there is nothing wrong with wanting more in your life if you're looking at it from the spiritual aspect. You're looking at it like, I want more of God in my life. I want to be more of that spiritual being that I am being. That's not greed. That's not envy. Covetousness. That's not doing anything that you're taking away from somebody else. But when we are wanting something because someone else has it, or we think we just can't live without it, but we really don't need it, then that's greed. That's what it is. For example, I know people that constantly buy things and they bring them into their house and they never even take the tags off and they sit there forever. And it's like, that's greed. Why did you need that if you're going to hang it in your closet or put it over on a pile and never even take the tag off or use it? We don't need something like that, do we? And the question becomes, is that really a need, or is that something you're coveting? Because you're thinking, oh, I can't live without this. This is the newest style and I have to have it. And then you never even put it on. Or this is this new decor that I have to have. Or whatever it is that you are coveting. You go in your friend's house and you see the way their house is decorated, and you run out and buy all this stuff to redo your house when your house is a showcase as it is. We don't have to go to that place of wanting what other people have. We can know that we are going to have the right thing at the right time, and all is well. But when we start coveting things, then we just end up piling up, and we start piling on that guilt and shame in our own existence. Because how is that healthy, to have a bunch of piles sitting around that you're not enjoying, or a bunch of clothes in your closet that you're not even enjoying? And there's several ways to correct this. And the first one is to take everything that you have in your house that still has a tag on it, whether it's clothes in the closet or stuff piled up that you haven't even used for whatever. But take everything that you still have tags on and put them in a pile and sell them on eBay or Marketplace or one of the clothing sites or whatever, and take that money and bring it right here to this church.
Amen. That's right.
Because we could use it. Okay? The other thing is, just think how you're going to be blessed. I'm telling you what. Because for every cent you give the church, you are blessed tenfold.
Amen.
So then when you go out shopping and you start piling up your cart and you're seeing this stuff and you're thinking, oh, Reverend Francie just gave that message. Put the stuff back on the shelf, and add it up as you're going, and take that money that you were going to spend at the register, put it in a special pocket in your purse or your pants, and bring that money to church to give to the church. Again, you're blessing yourself, you're blessing the church. It's a beautiful thing. It really is. And no longer are you coveting. You are then in the state of giving. And when you give, you are going to receive. I just saw this little clip on those reels. I'm semi-addicted to watching those reels, but it was about Colgate, the man who started the Colgate company. And he started, when he first started doing this, he was selling candles and something else. I can't remember what the other thing was. It wasn't even toothpaste or shampoo or any of that kind of stuff. So he started selling these things, and he started giving his tithe to the church, his 10%. And then he just kept making more money, so he started giving 20%. And then he gave 30%. By the time he he was thinking about giving the company to his son, he was tithing 90% of his income to churches. And get this, he was still making billions of dollars. And of course, then his son took it over, and his son continued with that. But talk about a proof of the pudding. I mean, he showed that it didn't matter, what he was receiving. If he was giving, he opened up that portal to the universe that God said, I'm going to abundantly bless you. And that's where we have to be. We can't be in that state of greed and wanting it all for ourselves and thinking that, I don't have a penny to spare. That's the wrong thinking. So, now that you know how to tuck all your money away right back here, it does erase that guilt and shame too, though. But when our lives are not about stuff, we have to think about that. Our lives are not about stuff.
Absolutely.
It's not.
No.
Our lives are about each other and experiencing more goodness with each other.
That's the truth.
That was like my prayer, I want spirit people to come to church that are spiritual people that want to grow spiritually. And if we open up that door, I think we're opening up the floodgate for people that have that longing and desire within yourself, and you try to fill it with all these other things, with greed and covetousness and all those things that aren't healthy for us. But there's a good way to experience the goodness with each other. And if you really start living this way, I want to hear your stories. So come to church and tell us these stories. But if we covet things because we are envious, we will never get beyond that. We will never stop coveting. And if we choose things because we will enjoy them, then we will be living in freedom. We will be living from that place and state of mind where we know that this is something that is really going to be helpful for us or somebody else, So the next sin is lust, believe it or not. And I don't really like this one because there's so much reference that women are the reason there is lust in the world. Well, come on. Here's what it said on the internet. Proverbs 5 counsels against adultery or lust and the wiles of a forbidden woman, for she is bitter as wormwood, and her feet go down to death. Doesn't that sound horrible?
It does.
But the whole thing of Proverbs 5 says this, and I've kind of got it broken up. Warning against adultery. So here we go. My son, pay attention to my wisdom. Turn your ear to my words of insight, that you may maintain discretion and your lips may preserve knowledge. So here's the beginning of it, where you kind of get the little bit of a warning, and then here's where it goes into pointing fingers. For the lips of the adulterous woman drip honey, and her speech is smoother than oil. But in the end she is bitter as gall, sharp as double-edged sword. Now, I don't know about you, but I know a lot of men like that too. Think about these conniving, lying, stinking men that do that same thing.
Blame the woman.
So why are they just putting it on us? Exactly.
Really?
But we're all a child of God. We are all here. And how we act and how we treat others is up to us. So whether we are respecting each other physically, mentally, emotionally, any of those things, if we're not, then we are lusting after somebody. And we are not treating them from that place where we want to be. Well, here's the last bit of Proverbs 5. It says, her feet go down to death, her steps lead straight to the grave. She gives no thought to the way of life, her paths wander aimlessly, but she does not know it. The final piece to this really lets us know that this is not a place where we want to be.
That's true.
I mean, why do we want to have our feet buried in death already? Why do we want to walk aimlessly and not enjoy life? Why do we want to be in this state of mind where we are not really being true to ourselves? And once we start getting in that idea of lusting after anything, then what happens is we are never satisfied. We are never happy. We are not enjoying our life. We are just moving through existence, and that's not a place we really want to be as spiritual beings, So what we have to do is release any thought of adultery, because it keeps a person living with integrity and living a glorious life. And don't we all want to live in integrity?
Yes, right.
And I want a glorious life here on this earth. I don't want to think the only way I'm going to get a glorious life is once I die.
No.
Because, we know that we can have that heaven on earth right here, right now.
Right.
And that's where we want to be. The next sin is gluttony. It's kind of funny about this one. Yeah. From Proverbs 23, it says, put a knife to your throat if you're given to appetite or gluttony. Now that sounds like it's all about food and eating, and it sounds really harsh to me. But let's look at the lines and the quotes before and after that one. It says, when you sit to dine with a ruler, note well what is before you, and put a knife to your throat if you are given to gluttony. Do not crave his delicacies, for that food is deceptive. We're gonna look at this a little bit, because the thing is, it's not just about food, is it?
No.
It's about what you are thinking, what you are doing, who you are hanging out with even, and who do you want to be around. I mean, I know there's a lot of churches here in this town even, or Atlanta area, whatever, that you're supposed to go to that church in order to be seen, in order to know that you are who you are and you are important. That is not what we're here for. We are here to be that spiritual being, to be able to be with people who will say, yeah, I like that idea. I want to share that idea. I want to live from that place. I want to be positive. I don't want to be brought down in a negative world and think that I don't have anything good going on in my life. I want to affirm the good and live from that good and be that good. Amen. And that's where we want to be. You know, because the minute we start going back to the idea of food and gluttony, you know, we all know, we see yummy things, we want to eat them up, and sometimes that's not the best or healthiest thing for us. So we have to stop and say, this is my body temple. This is my existence here on this earth, and God has given me this to move forward. So I have to look at myself and say, what is healthy for me? What will bring forth the best me? And that includes what we put in our mouths or what we choose to do, or whether we're sitting at home all day just watching TV or, you know, sitting around watching our reels. We have to get up and get moving. We have to pay attention. We have to be in that place. But, you know, it is more than just food. Because if you are around someone who we might think is richer or smarter or has more, we need to stop ourselves from falling into desire to have what they have. Because then we will find ourselves backsliding into covetousness and envy. It's not just about the gluttony, wanting all that stuff, wanting to be keep up with the Joneses or whatever. We have to look at the idea that we are going to bring forth something greater for ourselves. And it does take self-discipline. It does take, seeing self-control. It does take self-worth and self-esteem. Because if we really follow what our hearts are telling us or what our desire is, then guess what? We move forward into this new place where we're respecting ourselves, and it's easier to respect somebody else. It brings forth balance, and it makes what we're doing empowering and more fun. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm waiting for my granddaughter.
Oh, okay. But the next one is, this is a little bit more on that, I think. Maybe. Yeah, it is. So if we look at the idea that we all, that realize that we each have unique gifts, are unique in the gifts we have. Let me say it that way because it is important to put it that way. If we see that we each have gifts and we see that we are unique in the gifts that we have, we don't have to be envious of somebody else or lust over somebody else, because we know that we have these gifts and they might not have the same gifts, or they have the same gift and they use it in a different way. Look at artists, for example. There's all kinds of art to be had these days, especially with digital art and all that kind of stuff coming out too. But we all do our own unique expression of who we are. But yet together, we are capable of creating something great. And that's what it's all about. Can we bring forth that energy together in order to see the highest good? And that it's important for us to realize. So the next one is sloth or laziness. I kind of like the term sloth, although little sloths are so cute. They barely move. Yeah. Anyway, the hand of the diligent will rule, while the slothful will be put to forced labor. And I put this little clip art up there because, there's always that boss that thinks that they are the boss, and they don't do a darn thing, and everybody else thinks that they are, working and slaving hard, and the boss is just the boss. And so that's kind of what that quote is saying. But then it goes on and describes a slothful person as a sluggard. A sluggard's appetite is never filled, but the desires of the diligent are fully satisfied. So that boss up there, he might be like that, he might be sitting up there being the boss and not doing any of the work, but is he as satisfied as the person who's actually doing the work? Because the deal is if you are actually doing the work, you have something to be proud of for yourself. You can say, hey, I'm being the best that I can be. I'm coming forth with the best that I can do, and I'm going to make a difference. And it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing around you. doesn't make a difference at all of what anybody else is doing. That person could be sitting there doing nothing. But if you are bringing forth your best, then you are moving from the right space. And it might motivate that person that sits there and does nothing. You never know. But I think we've all experienced this kind of sloth too. You know, the person who runs around in circles, okay? A slothful person is a lazy person, but there's also that person that's always busy doing something. And yet they seem like they never get anything accomplished. Everybody's shaking their head. Yeah, we know people like that, don't we?
Yeah.
Might even be us, who knows? But I'm just saying, you know people like that. And they run around in circles, and it's like they never get anything done. That person is no different than the person that's laying on the couch, vegging out all day, doing nothing. Because if you're not accomplishing something, then what are you doing for your spiritual growth? You're not growing. You're staying stagnant. You're staying in this place where it's like, I'm never going to get beyond where I am now. And you want to keep moving. You want, in a way, and I say moving, doesn't mean moving like this. I mean moving as far as your mental state goes and as far as your spiritual state goes. You're always in this idea to grow. But all we have to do when we get to that place of feeling like we're running around in circles or we're lethargic, and believe you me, I take a day every once in a while where I do nothing. You have to. You have to have that time to regroup. You stop and regroup, and then you get up and you tell yourself, what are you laughing about?
It'd be nice.
But you have to, or else you can't, and maybe it's not a whole day. Maybe it's, 2 hours in the bathtub, and you're just lounging in there, trying to regroup. Whatever trips you to. Some people go out and sit in the garden for 2 hours, and it regroups them. Whatever it is, you do have to take that time. But that's not being a sloth or being lazy. That's taking time to regroup. And there's a big difference. But when we are in that place where we're just stagnant, where nothing is moving, where we just feel like, I'm just stuck. You ever feel like that? Like you're just stuck? Then there is something you can do. You can take and figure out your desires. You can make a list. Now, a lot of people don't like to make lists, but I'm telling you what, lists are your friends. Mm-hmm. Do it on your phone, do it on your computer, do it on a piece of paper, whatever makes sense for you. Lists are your friends. But make yourself a list of what your desires are. It might be something completely out of the realm of your thinking, but if it comes to your mind, then you need to share that. Do you know what I mean? You need to put it down and see what manifests from that, because you never know. Just like me sharing this morning about the Spirit saying, yeah, share that you want spiritual people to come here. I think it's huge, because I do see all of you as spiritual people. And we have to pay attention to what guidance we're receiving. But make a list, see what you can and can't do. If there's something on that list you think you can't do, don't just cross it out, but see what you can do, accomplish what you can, and then ask someone to help you do the things you cannot do. And this is huge, because a lot of people do not know how to ask people to help them. It might be calling up the handyman. It might be asking a grandchild or somebody to do something for you, or a child, like Zuriel, or somebody. Just threw you under the bus. Anyway, or a friend or whatever. But what we have to look at is we all have our unique gifts, don't we? Yeah. We all have these gifts we have been given. And we all come together to be with each other in order to share our gifts. So there could be somebody sitting here right now that will give you the perfect answer. They might not come over and help you clean your house, but they might give you the perfect answer as a result of that. You never know. The minute I say that you speak it and put it out into the universe, the solution comes rushing in, because that's what God does. If you have a desire, speak it, write it down, tell somebody, and then allow the universe to come rushing in to help you with that. It works, people. It really does work. And you just have to open that door and realize that you can ask for help. A lot of people don't want to ask for help. And then a lot of people will say, well, I can't figure out what I desire. Well, guess what? Take a breath. And I say, begin in prayer. That'll always get you recentered.
Sure will.
That'll always take you to the place where you take that breath. And that prayer could be as short as, dear God, help me. Whatever. I'm listening. Please. That's a prayer. Or you could spend 2 hours in meditation. Whatever's whatever works for you. But the minute you open up that door, just say, I don't even know what I desire. The solutions will come rushing in, and you will be surprised with yourself, and you'll be pleased with yourself, and you'll feel so much better. And it's kind of a form of release in a way. But if you don't do that, what's going to happen is you're going to start finding yourself full of what Fillmore calls ills. And here's what he says the cause of ills is. Anger, jealousy, fear, hate, lust often cause ills of the body. The 7 sins are going to cause you ills of the body if you don't look at them from the spiritual aspect and change where you're coming from with it. These result from our failure to adjust our mind to a divine mind. If you are hurting somewhere, we need to ask ourselves, okay, God, where am I not opening up? What am I not paying attention to? And then he goes on with, when the sinning state of mind is forgiving. So whatever it is that you've been lusting over, or you cleaned out all those things that you have price tags on at home that are still brand new, you clean that out of your house or whatever it is, then you are forgiving that state of mind that you have had in the past. The heavenly state of mind is established. Man is restored to his primal and natural wholeness. Now, when a baby is born, they are in that natural and primal state of wholeness. They don't know any of this junk. And I don't care if the baby's been in NICU for 6 months or whatever, that baby still does not know all the junk that we have put in our minds that have distorted our original basis of being a spiritual being. And that's what we have to think about. I want to be in that place where God is directing me. This is wholly a mind process. And it is. We have to change our own thinking and take away any of those barriers in order to be in that place. And then the last bit he says is, all wrong and right conditions of man result from his thinking. We all know this. And as he thinketh within himself, so he is. Another one from Proverbs. And I think it's amazing how that quote ended up being perfect for this message, and using a proverb quote, changing that whole energy of that negativeness of what the Catholics call the deadly sins to letting us know that we miss the mark sometimes. And this takes us into that whole idea of error thinking. Fillmore says this about sin. Sin, and we all should know this one because this is a unity principle, missing the mark, that is falling short of divine perfection. So sin is just our own minds taking something and changing it away from the original idea and not aligning with divine perfection that is there, that exists. You understand what I'm saying?
Self-inflicted nonsense.
Yeah, and I love this when the arrows are all miss the mark. Got me? It's a very good visual to hold in your mind. But he goes on with, sin is man's failure to express the attributes of being, life, love, intelligence, wisdom, and the other God qualities. So when we are sinning, we are not realizing that we are that perfect expression of God right here on this earth, that we have all the love, all the life, all the wisdom, all the intelligence that we need is within us because we are one with God, because God is expressing through us right here on this earth. And again, all we have to do is stop, take a breath, and realize it. It changes everything. It changes everything. And there's a little bit more. Sin or error is first in mind and is redeemed by a mental process or by going into the silence. Prayer. Error is brought into the light of spirit and then transformed into a constructive force. So the minute we flip that idea of error thinking into realizing, whoop, I'm not living by my spiritual beingness, guess what happens? We all of a sudden are beaming that light within us. That light and love that is naturally there is beaming now. And that's all we have to do. We have to just switch it. And one of Fillmore's favorite quotes is this: be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. It's not Proverbs, but still, it was in this quote of sinning. And so when we renew our mind and align with those attributes of being, we're switching up the whole idea of our experience here on earth. And we have to remember that it's not that the 7 sins are hovering over each of us. You know, you don't want to think that, like lust and gluttony and all these things are like all around us, wanting to stick to us like glue. No, they aren't ready to pounce on us, and if we have one ill thought, no. But we must realize we have the ability to erase them from our minds with a change of thought. It's that easy. It's quick. I can't click my fingers anymore, but it's quick, you know? I mean, it's as quick as snapping your finger. Yeah, everybody snap their fingers that can. It's that quick. It really is, and it's just the flip of a switch. And Emily Cady gives us this in Lessons in Truth. We try to love. I love this. This is like a prayer for me. We try to love instead of to hate. Instead of avenging ourselves, we begin to forgive. Even if it costs us great mental effort, we begin to deny envy, jealousy, anger, sickness, and all imperfection, and to affirm love, peace, and health. Let's say this together. We try to love instead of to hate. Instead of avenging ourselves, we begin to forgive, even if it costs us great mental effort. We begin to deny envy, jealousy, anger, sickness, and all imperfections, and to affirm love, peace, and health. Isn't that beautiful?
It is.
Yes.
I love it. And again, from Emily Cady, Lessons in Truth, these quotes just come, and it's like it reinforces what you already know to be true.